And welcome to a brand new week of Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya, now more than ever. I'm Jeff Koinange. Now, we're thinking about what we're going to call this new week, a new theme, and it literally fell on our laps, folks, because the headlines that have been hitting the newspapers the last few days, it's just pathetic to see. People who have been going out of their way to do their job, and all they get is a slap in the face. As they say in the local language, Asante Apunda ni mateke. That's exactly what's happened to my guest today. Because several months ago, when it was declared that 4 million Kenyans were on the verge of starvation, he and a group of friends got together and formed something that came to be known as Kenyans for Kenya. In effect, about a little over a month later, they raised $1 billion, yes, $1 billion shillings, through Kenyans, friends of Kenya, Kenyans in the diaspora, $1 billion shillings. All seemed well, and the kids' lives were being saved. And then my guest today went and said, look, let's inspect some of that Unimix that's going to the kids. Is it okay? Let's just find out. He did it himself, no one else, and found out that it had been contaminated. To cut a long story short, now everyone from MPs to the company that's supposed to have manufactured this Unimix, they're blaming my guest. Why? We want to find out, folks. What is all this about? And is it worth it? What he did, what he's done, he's been in this business for the last 4 decades. Why would he want to do this now? And all this, is it worth it at the end of the day? Thankless is what it is. Sit back, folks. The executive director, Kenya Red Cross Society himself on the bench, Abbas Gullet. My brother.
Yes, sir.
This is pathetic. I'm disgusted, if anything. If I was you, I'd be pissed off.
Well, indeed, I'm Jeff. But on the other hand, if you look at the brighter side, there are many Kenyans out there, millions who need our daily attention and our daily support. So there may be distraction and sideshows from time to time, but life has to go on, and we have to look at the needs of the most vulnerable in this country.
Okay, fine. But when you listen to Parliament last week, or when you pick up a newspaper, and you say, everyone's blaming Abbas Gullet and the Red Cross for something you yourself blew the whistle on.
For sure. And unfortunately, that's true. We bought Unimix of 1,402 tons from 2 suppliers. One, we bought 1,170, and the other one we bought 302 tons. In the midst and the height of the emergency, we could have gone out and bought this from outside, but we decided to buy locally. One, I believe in buy Kenya, build Kenya. But number 2, because of the urgency of the matter at hand at the time, that lives of young children, women who are pregnant, lactating and breastfeeding, and men and women, elderly with HIV/AIDS and tuberculosis who are on the verge of losing their lives. We decided to go and buy this from companies that we have done business with over the last 6-7 years, and companies that we knew never doubted their quality. So we bought this in order to reach Kenyans, and I think we saved lives of hundreds of thousands of young people. In the process, on the 25th of August, we decided just to do a random test and went to Kenya Bureau of Standards and told them to go to the 2 main suppliers who are supplying us this commodity of Unimix, take the food from the source, from their factories, before it was shipped out. So go and test. And when they did this on the 25th of August, unfortunately it took until 23rd of August for us to get the results from Kenya Bureau of Standards, but unfortunately when we got the results, it was a bit too late that we realized that the food was contaminated.
It took what, about a month?
About a month, yes, from 23rd August to 23rd September, which was really sad.
Correct, because, okay, so you get that news right then, and the Unimix is already being fed to the kids. What was going through your mind then?
Terrible, couldn't believe, shocked, utter shock and disgust. So put the whole machinery very quickly now to talk to the various, the 2 suppliers and Kenyans for Kenya, interim committee and Kenya Bureau of Standards to say what can we do. So immediately we decided that this particular part of the country, Kenyan Coast and Lower Eastern, we stopped the distribution, but we decided to do further tests of the same products from other agencies that verify this. So we went to SGS and went to Analabs. It took another 5 days to get the results from them, and the the results were again as bad. So we decided, no, this is enough. We stopped the distribution, bring everything back to Nairobi, and then decided also now we will get samples from what we sent to northern Kenya, northeastern, upper eastern, and Turkana. Bring samples from various schools, and we got about 19 samples. And of the 19 samples, 13 came positive, that they were had small levels of aflatoxin. So we decided that we stop the entire commodity and bring it back to base, and then the matter now has been taken over by the Ministry of Health and Public Sanitation, who are now have seized this commodity, and they're investigating in their own national laboratories.
But tell me something, shouldn't this product have been tested before it even left Procter & Allen or Sai Millers? Shouldn't it have been tested by KEBS then? Isn't that standard?
For sure. And the responsibility, I would imagine, lies with the millers. We had no reason, because they are certified companies, certified millers, certified producers of these commodities, and for many years. So we've had no reason whatsoever to doubt their quality, and quality assurance should be their responsibility. So, but we just, by sheer luck, decided we'd do a random test, because we knew they supply to many other organizations and many other agencies who buy, and we know even now it's only Kenya Red Cross that seems to be in the limelight on this matter, but we know there are a number of NGOs and other relief organizations that have bought the same commodity from same suppliers and other suppliers.
Yeah. Tell me something, you could have kept quiet, you know that? You could have just said, look, Kenyans for Kenya, we raised $1 billion shillings, we're feeding children, let life go, you know, let life go on. Let's not upset the apple cart.
No way. We could have done that, but I said no way, because we have a fundamental responsibility. And I, being the CEO of Kenya Red Cross and the agency that Kenyans for Kenyans had trusted to give this to Kenyans, no way. I mean, I'm the one who blew the first whistle about Turkana and how the condition of those kids. How would I go back and now undermine that very essence of the principle that drove us to go out and get these results from the public, from Kenyans? Yeah. There was no way, and we had a problem, and I said no. So I reported that immediately to the miller, and I'm the one who went to the miller to say to the MD of this company, Procter & Allen, look, I mean, here we have a problem. I took the first call, because we are the ones who ordered the testing. So KEBS gave the results. Right. But they should have done their own test. I could have kept quiet and gone home, yes, but no way. It's not within me. It's never been my practice. I shouldn't be. And I couldn't do that to anyone's child, because I have children too.
Yeah. But they turned around and said, hey man, it's not us. It happened at the supply.
Well, I think saying that is totally wrong. I mean, I have with both companies, and I've talked to the leadership of both companies. In principle, they have agreed for the recall. In principle, they have said they're willing to look at the medical needs of these children. So to me, that's already accepting a responsibility. But now, where it's being a blame game and it's being shifted to say this was during the distribution and the supply chain, come on, give me a break. Yeah. The results are there. Go to KEBS and they'll give you the results. Who ordered the investigation and what are the results? It was at the source, the very first test of the 25th of August. That sample was taken from the factory itself, from both factories.
Why would they drag your name in the mud through Parliament and say, you know, Abbas Gullet is director of Sai Millers? I mean, why would they say things like that?
See, sometimes, Jeff, from wanting to get angry, I mean, just laugh over these things, because it's just hypocrisy of the highest order. I mean, it's very sad. I don't have the privilege of that house. For an honorable member of Parliament to wake up and ask, using the privilege of a Parliament, to ask whether I'm a director of Sai Millers or not, and to ask a poor minister to answer that. The minister wouldn't know that. But if this gentleman, honorable member of Parliament, was serious and actually was seeking the truth, he should have gone simply to the Register of Companies, just across the Parliament, and go and ask for that information. It's a public domain. Yeah. He can get that. But I believe there were ulterior motives, and there were motives to tarnish my name in one form or another, using the privilege of the House, which was uncalled for and unnecessary. So, I mean, I feel very sad, but I hold no grudge at all, because I think this is, I don't even know what word to use. Yeah. It's really sad. Shouldn't happen in Kenya, but if that's what the Parliament is turning, some members of Parliament turn out to be, then it's very sad.
But you know what really angers me is the fact that Kenyans for Kenya started off as such a fantastic project, and admit it.
Yes.
Do you regret starting this whole thing?
It is the best thing that happened in this country over many, many years, especially this last 4 years, what we've went through in 2008, 2007, 2008, and the last 3 years what's been going on. This was something that for once was owned by ordinary Kenyans. It gave our dignity back. It gave to the ordinary Kenyans who are the victims of the drought a dignity back, because this initiative, ordinary Kenyans send their 10 bob through Safaricom, sent their money through the corporate, sent their money through other ways. I mean, for me, this has been and is in a long time to come.
Yeah.
This is the best thing that has happened to this country, and I can go over and over it 10 times again or 100 times, and I would still feel that I'm very proud today as Kenyan, and I'm proud for the entire people, including yourselves and thousands of others who've been involved in this Kenyans for Kenya. It's the best thing that has happened, and we should be proud. The whole world has been proud of what happened in Kenya. And today, for what's happening in the media and this negative attention, Kenyans are very good in shooting themselves at the foot over and over and over. But here is about a responsibility, and who has a fundamental responsibility. I have mine, I've kept mine. The suppliers have theirs, they should keep theirs, and they should not go around now to find an easier way to say it was in the supply chain. No, it was in the warehousing out there in the field. No, yes, the food quality would get worse if it started worse from the source itself. It degenerates. It will get worse by the day.
Yeah.
Go to the Kenya Ministry of Public Health, and they'll show you how bad it is now today.
And let's face it, lots more lives would have been lost had this not happened, right?
For sure. We've saved thousands of lives. And it's not to say the entire consignment was bad. No, I can't say that. But it saved lives.
Yeah.
Thousands of lives of young, innocent children, men and women, positively living with HIV/AIDS, elderly men and women who were totally wasted. This initiative, yes, with health, with water, with food, with nutrition, it did wonders. Certainly.
Yeah.
Many lives have been saved over and over, and we should be proud as Kenyans.
Absolutely. Yes. Can we still salvage this at the end of the day? Can we salvage it? Can people, if they stood up, if they grew a backbone and said, look, we take responsibility, we'll replace or we'll do whatever needs to be done. Can it still be done?
Well, I think it can be done. It should be done. And to their credit, for me, Jeff, I don't know where this issue came of the blame game, but for me, or shifting responsibilities, because really the two companies have basically accepted. Cy Millers, their directors and their management have said they're willing to do what they can do. The same thing has been said by Procter & Allen, the chairman of their board and their managing director have said this to us. So where this turning point of things going bad and being negative and trying to blame responsibility from one shift to another, I don't know where it came from, but where we are today, I mean, now the main focus should be they have to replace that food. There's no doubt about it. But the government has now seized this food from Kenya Red Cross, where it was also being said, oh, Kenya Red Cross have refused to release the food to the millers. I couldn't release it to them. There was a bone of contention. There was a problem. And until we came to an understanding, that food is to be banned by the government. It's not even me. I have no authority to do that. Ministry of Public Health and Sanitation have the responsibility. They have now seized the food, and it is their business. We've given them all cooperation. And I'm sorry, when the minister says Kenya Red Cross, did not even inform us. The day the minister went to Parliament to speak about this matter, her technocrats in the ministry, the information she used was based on what we gave them. We even told them about other potential NGOs and others who bought this food that they can go and check. So we've been as transparent as one can be. So the situation can still be salvaged. It just requires us to be, now the government to come into this to say, okay, we've seized this amount. This is what is apportioned to Cy. This was apportioned to Procter & Allen. So what should they do is to replenish. But we said we'll only take it after it's been pre-tested and certified to have no traces whatsoever of aflatoxin, because what we bought should have had 0 levels. Okay, just like now we're done with South Africa. We bought the food much more cheaper from there, but also with certification by Intertech, who have taken responsibility. So we're saying this can be done. The second and the most crucial thing is, what do we do about those children? So we need to now go and do a random health test and medical check, and we've agreed with the Ministry of Public Health and Sanitation, and I'm sure Procter & Allen and Cy Millers all also agree that this is what needs to be done, and they have taken responsibility. They're willing to put money into this. So if that is the case, then let's get on with it. But for me, the government takes over what I had, I get to be replenished, and we look after the children and their future.
I tell you, man, I still can't get it. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said we shoot ourselves in the foot every time. That's what it is. And also, Asante Apunda Nimateke.
Unfortunately.
Let's face it.
Unfortunately.
I want to talk more about that. And also, is there a gap now? You said you've ordered food from South Africa. Is there a gap between when it gets here and when it gets to the kids? And, are we going to face another looming crisis, or what's going to happen? And also, where do we go from here, man? I mean, the next big initiative that comes through, people will think twice, right? Once bitten, twice shy.
Unfortunately.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Oh, folks, it's only Monday. Abbas Gullet coming out, guns blazing. I tell you, man, this man has been doing this for the last 4 decades. And yes, this initiative, he says, Kenyans for Kenya, was the best thing to happen in this country for years. And this is the thanks he gets. Makes you want to shake your head. SMH, folks, shake my head. Don't even think of switching that dial. Abbas Gullet is fighting back in the calmest way he can. Bench is back in a moment. And welcome back to Capital Talk. All this week, we have a new theme, a new week. We're calling it the thankless ones. Yes, people who do a job to the best of their abilities. They give their all, 110%, and all they get is a kick in the face, folks. This is just not right. Somebody has to speak up. That's why the bench is here. On the bench, it is a man literally in the firing line. Everyone's calling for his head. All he did was the right thing. He's been in this business, yes, indeed, for the last 4 decades. Abbas Gullet was one of the key principles of the Kenyans for Kenya initiative, raising 1 billion shillings in about a month, saving tens of thousands of lives. And now he's getting it back from everybody, from parliamentarians to suppliers to millers, you name it, blaming him. Why? Sit back. So, is there that gap? Because obviously, everything's been recalled. You've ordered from South Africa, which you could have done in the first place because you said it's much cheaper.
Yes.
Much cheaper. And probably Kebs over there wouldn't let anything leave their country unless it's 100%.
And Kenya wouldn't import until they get that verification. So Intertech has been used in this case and it's been verified. So it's true, Jeff, what you're saying, there has been a gap. The food has been bought. It was meant to land in the country yesterday. I think it's landed. So now we even went to the motion of exemption by the government, and this has been done. We have all the exemptions given to us, so we hope in the next day, 2 or 3 within this week, we would have marshaled enough logistic capacity to now get this food and send it out to the various parts of the country before the schools close, because we really need to make sure that this food get to the kids before they close, so that even if we have to give it to them to take home with them, so that for the next 6 weeks they have it in the house until New Year, then they have it. So the food is coming in batches. We have the first 500 metric tons, which we plan to look at Turkana, Upper Eastern and Northeastern, and then the next shipment we can look at the coast. So this is ongoing, and there has been, of course, now a 2 weeks period or 2.5 weeks period that of lap over.
So what? They don't have anything in that?
No, unfortunately now they don't have. But luckily the rains have come. It's a bit of reprieve for water, but food, no. And we hope that with the general food distribution by the government and by World Food Programs will help. But certainly there is a gap in the pipeline for sure. And the earlier we get this food out to the people, the better.
If it landed yesterday and you get all the exemptions, plus minus, how soon before it gets to Northeast and Northern?
Maybe a week.
Another week.
Yes.
So they'll be starving for 3 weeks basically.
Well, unfortunately they would have, this was meant to be complementary feeding, so they would be in shortfall. I mean, they would have to find other ways of coping, unfortunately, either through family support or through government support or any other support, because it's quite clear that other agencies also are looking at what they sent and how careful they want to be with what they have sent, because it hadn't been tested too, probably.
Has this whole thing left a bad taste in your mouth?
Well, unfortunately, to some extent, yes, Jeff. But as I said, you learn and you grow from this thing. The experience this has shown us now is that if this were to happen again, it would mean that we can't put our name and our brand onto it until we test and verify everything we buy now, that you would not be able then to have the lead time or to act with the same kind of speed to reach ordinary Kenyans at the hour of need. And this is for me the saddest part, because I'm not responsible for quality assurance, someone else is, whether it's the government or whether it's the miller. it is their duty to ensure that there's quality assurance in everything that we buy in this country, especially locally produced, because for imported items, largely the standards of verification has to be followed before that it can be imported. The government won't allow until you have all the certificates. So when you produce locally, if we're going to find the gaps in that, it means I would have to buy imported things unless they're in the market. If they're not in the market, then it'll take me time to order and before you shipment and all that. But if there was a major disaster today and I was to feed Kenyans, God forbid, I would not want to touch any more food because of the same very consequences.
So what does that say about other goods, other products produced locally? Could there be some other contaminated stuff out there that we don't know of?
Well, I mean, for a fact, the minister admitted that she said she has been on the forefront fighting these monster or animal called aflatoxin. It's been a problem in this country since 1980s, and it's a problem that is here with us. Everyone knows about it. The government, the minister has admitted, Minister of Agriculture has admitted. Even this weekend, Dr. Misoi of National Cereal Produce Board was saying we have a problem. It is said that there's aflatoxin maize in many of our warehouses, the National Cereal Produce Boards in Upper Eastern, in Lower Eastern, and other parts of the country. So, yeah, I mean, I can't confirm this, Jeff, but someone says that, I mean, aflatoxin is rampant, and if it is rampant, then where? Someone says that, you know, in many of our supermarkets, we are buying products that may contain traces of aflatoxin. I don't want to sound alarmist, but let you guys in the media go and do your investigative journalism.
Yes, we need something like that, a deep investigative, right?
This matter.
And expose the people involved, because they're playing with people's lives.
Well, apart from even the people involved, the fact that we have a problem and that the fact that we as a nation need to improve on our standards and our quality and quality assurance cannot be overemphasized. It was said by the minister in the parliament, and she said she's been on the forefront on this the last year or two or three. So, but what's happening then? Why is it still out there? And why are people not being held accountable? And why can't we not make sure that we have world standards? Because we want to export, but if you export and out there, people will not buy your product if your product doesn't meet that standard.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me go out on a limb here and just say, look, for those 2 months or so, 2-3 months, you were the headlines. You did something that no minister, no ministry, no NGO, no government body had ever done in this country, which is raise 1 billion shillings and save hundreds of thousands of lives. You did that. Maybe somebody got a little jealous that you were stealing the thunder.
No, and as I said to you here before, Jeff, it's not about me. It was not about the limelight or the headline and what we did. It's about the nation, as a country, as a person who am patriotic. I wanted to stand up and feel proud as a Kenyan. But I thank all those Kenyans and non-Kenyans, the Bob Colimos, the Gina Dean, the Martin Odwar, the Joshua, the Linus, the Paul Melly, I don't know, all the guys, Waishira Waruru, everyone. Paul Wanyanga of your company, everyone, yourself, the media guys, young Kenyans, ordinary Kenyans, all the artists, all the musicians, they are the people who made this happen. And ordinary Kenyans who gave their 10 bob to give us back dignity, for us to give dignity to other Kenyans who are out there, who in this day and age did not have. And it was never to look for limelight, was never to look for any public office or anything of that nature, was to feel proud as a Kenyan, feel proud as an African, feel proud as a global citizen that we could actually make a difference in our own lives and the lives of the people around us, and Kenyans by their nature. The whole world applauded Kenya for what we did.
Yeah.
But as I said before, we are good in shooting ourselves in the foot, just blaming others for the sake of, with no real purpose. Because when someone says that I'm a director of a company that I don't even know and using the privilege of the house, then you wonder, what was this person's intentions? Yeah. They obviously wanted good, because if they were good, he would have done a bit of a research work, which he didn't do.
And it's basic research.
Basic. Go there.
Yeah.
Next to the parliament, register of companies, pay some, I don't know, 100 or 200 or 500 more when you get that.
And that's why I kept saying, I said at the top of the show, I'm surprised you're not more angry than you should be. In fact, you're not even angry at all. You're pretty calm.
What will it serve me at the end of the day? I sleep with my conscience clear. I go home, Jeff. I sleep comfortable because I know ordinary Kenyans, and majority of Kenyans understand what the issues are and know the reality. So if one or two or three individuals have to the contrary and can use, whether it's the media or other form of communication, to put my name onto this, I mean, fine. Yes. Many people call me and say, can you tell us, are you actually a director of that company? And of course I end up laughing, because if I get upset, what will it help me? And I have work to do.
Absolutely. What's going to happen in the next crisis? Because then it's inevitable. Another crisis will come. We're going to maybe go through the motions again. Yes. But people will think twice about wanting to contribute, right? Let's face it, they'll think twice.
Unfortunately, and who will be the loser? The ordinary Kenyan. And that vulnerable person out there. Okay, this is the most audited process anywhere in the world, Jeff, in the world. And I talk about, as you rightly say, 40 years of experience, not only in Kenya, not in Africa, not in Asia, not in Europe, not in the Pacific, where I have been to all these countries and worked in those countries. This was the most audited process of food distribution and fundraiser than anywhere in the world. When Deloitte and Touche, KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Ernst & Young came on board on this. What did they say? We want to audit the process. They went to the millers. As we were loading things on the truck from the factory, they were counting every bag that went on that lorry. When we came to Uhuru Park and were now flagging off, they made sure those trucks from the factory, they were followed to Uhuru Park. From Uhuru Park going to the field where we were actually distributing, they went to the field and ensured that the distribution took place and people got what they should have got. There is no exercise anywhere in the world, and I can tell you, I challenge anyone to go and look for it. No one has done this. And we have said to Sam Onyang and the others, they can even put a patent on this one. Even the food being distributed by World Food Program and the government doesn't stand the same test of time like this one has. So what more would anyone want? But really is to say that the bigger issue is, as you say, tens of thousands of ordinary Kenyans' lives were saved, and we should be proud and stand tall as a nation of what we achieved. This particular issue of the aflatoxin is an issue between the company that is concerned, or companies, and the Kenya Red Cross. There is a problem with the quality. It's been confirmed at the source, and there is no way beating about the bush. This now has been taken over by the government. They need to replace what needs to be replaced when the government has fully audited and reconciled what they have taken away from us. They can be replaced only on condition that the standards required nationally and internationally has been met.
Yeah, but in the meantime, you're the fall guy.
Unfortunately, so someone has to take the brunt. In this case, if people say that I took the limelight in the first instance, I should take this one too, and I have broad shoulders. And we'll take it, because my conscience is 200% clear. I have no games to play here, and I'm not about, if I didn't do this in 40 years, I'm not about to do at the end of the twilight of my career.
Right.
Yes.
But then in the meantime, the biggest losers, like you said, is the ordinary Kenyan out there.
For sure.
And next time, you're not going to buy local.
Yes.
You'd rather import.
If local, then I have to go through the process, and by going through the process, if the process of verification is not much more quicker and much more faster, then ordinary Kenyans out there would be the ones to be suffering. That is the saddest part of this whole.
Bottom line, any regrets?
Not whatsoever. Not at all. Not from me. I regret for the Kenyans who would have doubt casted their minds over this issue, and who the next time may not be freely willing to give as they gave. And at the end of the day, is that most vulnerable person at the end of the line that shouldn't be put in the spot they were now being put in. Because I'm sure all other many NGOs who I know bought this food but will not stand the test of time to say they actually also bought and maybe never tested, because they expected the companies to do that. And now when this thing has come up, they have called me actually, Jeff, and they have called me to say, thank you for what you're doing, but what should we do? And I said, look, do what you think is right. My conscience told me this was not right, and I followed my conscience. And also I can sleep peacefully at home at the end of the day.
So there's a lot more food out there that people aren't declaring.
Well, I know of companies, NGOs who have bought the food, who have talked to me, and I have informed the government about that, and it's government responsibility to talk to them, and I know they're talking to them. But I did what my conscience necessitated me to do, just like I should have been expected by Kenyans to do. I did what I think Kenyans would have expected me and my employer, Kenya Red Cross, and the ordinary Kenyan out there who is receiving this food from us would expect me to do that.
Where'd you get this faith from? Where'd you get all this from, man?
from my own faith of my religion, but also from the discipline and the teaching that I've had from my parents. It's basic. It's about basic upbringing and doing the right thing and not be afraid of anything else. The rest is immaterial.
My brother, thank you so much, man.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Asante sana.
And don't let up.
Not at all.
Don't let up.
Not at all.
Just brush it up. You said you have broad shoulders.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Walk tall, my brother.
Walk the talk also.
Abbas Gullet, folks, CEO, Kenya Red Cross Society, calling it like he sees it. He's taking the heat, folks, but he says he is not angry. He was doing his job and his conscience is 200% clear. Because even though he blew the whistle, it was the right thing to do. The rest is up to the others, folks. Procter & Allen, Cy Millers, grow a backbone, stand up. There's kids out there who need your help. If you own up, we move on. And yes, the initiative, Kenyans for Kenya, was no doubt the best thing to ever happen to this country. In years, lives were saved. Let's not mess this one up. Or like Abbas Gullet says, shoot ourselves in the foot once again. All week long, folks, thankless. That's the theme. Stay tuned, folks. It's going to be a cracker of a week. We started off, the bench is already smoking, and it's only Monday with Abbas Gullet on the bench. You cannot find guests like Abbas Gullet anywhere else but right here on the bench on the award-winning station K24, where we are, yes indeed, even in times of whistle blowing and calling it like it is, we're still all Kenyan
all the time. Asante ndugu.
Nashukuru. Capital Talk is filmed at Fairmont, the Norfolk.